Welcome to the space between. The old saying goes, what you think is what you become. But is this really true? Is it that simple to just think positive and watch your life change right before your eyes? The short answer is no, but our thoughts and aligned actions hold much more power than we have been told. Irene Duford is an entrepreneur, wife, and mother who has pioneered mindset for her clients in the mortgage industry. From attending a powerful event many years ago to the present day, Irene has prioritized mindset and self-talk to find her purpose and share her gift with others. Join us as we connect through conversation. Welcome to the space between. My name is Alyson Rixner, and I am so excited to bring you an amazing theme and an even more amazing person today to the Space Between podcast. Today, we are talking about mindset. And boy, is that a big word. And we're going to get into it with Irene Duford. Irene, welcome to the Space Between.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. And I just want to start off our time now by saying how much I love you and how much I appreciate our friendship and your mentorship. And you had a big something to do with me sitting in the seat. So I just wanted to start off that way.
Aw, I love you too. I am so proud of you to see when you first started the idea of the space between, when you came up with the name.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. It's so amazing. And I've listened to some of your podcasts and you've had amazing guests. And I just know that this is something you've wanted to do for quite a while now, and you did it.
Thank you
And
so much.
it's just, you've got that energy out and I can feel the vibe, and I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you. And I'm so happy to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about mindset. And in the space between, which is this very interesting, transitory, kind of funky time that we're in, post-COVID, we've been through a lot. And we are recording this in October 2024. Wow, the energy has been a lot. There's a lot going on, both individually and collectively. And the whole goal of this work is to spark a conversation, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to have a conversation. And maybe something you hear could spark something inside of you or spark you to have a conversation with someone else that you might need to speak to. And we're very, very happy to have that opportunity today.
Yes.
So Irene, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do? Let's start there.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. My name's Irene Duford, and I have been married for 44 years to Kevin. That's my, I guess you could call it a claim to fame. I don't know. People think it's really unusual.
It's a big deal. It's amazing.
And he's my best friend, and I love him to death. And we have 3 kids, and I have 5 grandkids, and 1 more on the way. So that's really my life. Yeah. But my other part of my life is my work. I love my work. I've been coaching successful loan officers for 12 and a half years, almost 13 years now. And I also own a training company called Loan Team Training, and we train their support staff to wow clients and convert them and learn the mortgage business if they need to.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And you and I met how many years ago?
God, it's been a long time. Probably more than 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's been probably 12 years, probably.
I would say, well, you know what's funny? I don't know if it was because I was living in Florida when I met you. And I've been here for 14 years.
So
who knows how long?
Than that.
Who knows how long we've known each other? But one of the things about Irene that she will not say about herself, but I am happy to say about her, which is why I wanted her to come here and talk about mindset, is that she has such an amazing perspective on life and on how we can look at the world and how we have the capability to shift the way we think about things, the way we look at things. We have that capability. And that's what I want to talk about today. And when I thought about mindset, you were the first person that popped into my head. Because all the time I've spent with you, I've had your voice in my head with self-talk and mindset. And you've been such an amazing mentor and light for that, which is such an important piece of the human experience.
Well, I appreciate that. It's one of my favorite things. It's the habit that I've acquired in reshaping my own self-talk and then being able to share that with other people has been the biggest work joy of my life. And I don't just say work joy because it's not just work, right? It's personal. It's
Yeah.
very personal, but it's personal development as well, not just work related, but personally, it has changed my life like nothing else has. And it's changed the life of people that I love, my family, all of our people that we hang out with, right? People that we love and we're around and that I coach. And it has been a game changer, just rewiring how we think.
And that's really what it is. I'm so glad that you said that because I think in this time that I've coined the space between, we have been so disconnected from our inner knowing and
Yes.
our inner capability to be able to adapt and pivot and change and look at things differently. And
Hmm.
it's a rewiring. The definition of mindset, I have two of them. We always read from the Oxford Dictionary, which is old. So I like to bring that up because it shows how far we've come. So the definition of mindset from Oxford is a set of attitudes or fixed ideas that someone has that are often difficult to change.
That's the truth, isn't it?
It's true, but I was like, that is so negative.
Uh,
But okay, right? It is true, but it definitely is when I think of mindset, because I've worked so much on my mindset, I don't think
mhm.
about it that way anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
when I was first beginning the journey, I did, right? But the newer definition is a set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world and yourself.
I love that.
I thought you would.
Yes. A set of beliefs that helps you shape the world and
Yep.
yourself. That's
How your
exactly what
sense
it
of the
is.
world and yourself. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What I love about it too is that you can change it anytime.
Boom. It's ever
In a
changing.
moment's notice, you can change it. I catch myself every day saying things that aren't really what I wanna be telling myself, and I just shift it. It's like a light switch, just goes it's like turning on a light switch and turning it off. It's just plugging something in and saying, "Okay, I'm changing that. That's not what I wanna be saying to myself. I'm changing it."
Exactly. And where I'd like to begin in the deep dive is your path with mindset and self talk. And I don't know if I've ever actually asked you this question. And I love that we're doing it in a public forum because you and I have so many conversations. We're good friends and we talk all the time. So, talk to me about how you started on this journey of mindset because I consider you a master. So, where did the master begin?
Well, first of all, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. One day I was walking in a bookstore and I was just looking at the books, trying to figure out what to buy. And I saw this book. And keep in mind, my older kids were probably only 5, 3, somewhere around there. And I saw this book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I found that it was really intriguing, the name of it. I thought, that sounds like an interesting book. I wonder what that's about. So I picked it up. It was a paperback, and I picked it up by Dr. Shad Helmstetter, who is a master in self talk and mindset. And I looked at it and I thought, this is interesting. I'll stick it in the basket, and go on to the other books. And I'm sure, I read it. Once I started reading it, I couldn't put it down. It was intriguing to me that you could actually change how you talk to yourself and the fact that you do talk to yourself.
Right.
Nobody thinks about that. Now it's more common, but when I
Right.
found this, it was a long time ago.
Right.
And I wish I could say that I started implementing it immediately, but I didn't. It takes time.
It does.
And I put it on a shelf after I read it, and then I got it out once in a while and read it. And then one day I was at an event, and the speaker was Dr. Shad Helmstetter. And I went, "Oh,
Oh,
have
the
his book.
universal alignment of this whole story. I knew there was gonna be something. Okay.
Yeah, and I thought, "I have his book. Oh my goodness." It was a Brian Buffini event for Buffini and Company, and, it was amazing. He was exactly who I thought he would be when he spoke. Soft-spoken, very caring. He talked to people at the event. Just the nicest person you ever wanna meet. And so, actually, Brian had him on a couple of times, and I got the CDs and listened to his stuff, and the CDs were, what to say when you like a automated not automated, it was a CD of pre-recorded
Right, like a
talk,
track. Like
a
a,
track.
like a
Yes,
self-talk track,
yes,
but
different
on CD,
topics.
which some people on this, podcast will not understand what a CD is. Go look it up.
What were CDs again? I wish I had a picture of the CD to show you. But but yeah, it was a whole like there was 12 of them, 12 CDs, and they all had some different topic. Relationships, self-esteem, um, what you're good at, just all these different topics. Now you can get them on an app and they're all available right away. But I started listening to them, and as I started listening to them, I couldn't believe the difference of what was happening. I would turn on the CD player while I was getting for work ready for work in the morning. Yeah, push the button, getting on my makeup and stuff like that, and I would turn it on with headphones, and then I realized that I wanted my husband to hear it, and so I started taking off the headphones so that he could hear it, and,
By
you know
osmosis. Smart.
it
See,
it
44 years here, folks. You see how it works.
yes. And, when I talked to Doctor Shad Helmstetter about it, I actually was able to, and we can talk about that more, but when I was able to ask him, he said, "This is how you learn self-talk. Just like when you're rewiring your self-talk, it's just like learning another language. You just hear it playing in the background." Because I grew up speaking Spanish and English, but I heard Spanish at home, and I didn't have to learn it. They didn't have to sit me down and say, "Now listen to how
Right.
I'm gonna say this."
Osmosis,
Exactly.
right?
Osmosis, you just listen to it in the
Yeah.
background,
We're like
and
sponges.
yes,
Right.
that's exactly what it is, and if I could go back and do anything different, I would have played it out loud on speakers in my house every single morning for everybody to hear.
Right. Right. And that experience sounds like it really shook you and shifted you to know that you needed to do something different.
Yes. Yes, there was a I was lucky enough to grow up with affirmative parents, and they were affirming. They weren't perfect, they gave me some programs that weren't great too,
Who
of
is?
course.
It's part of
Yeah,
the deal.
nobody's perfect. But I was lucky enough to have my dad really affirm me, and so I was luckier than most. Some people didn't have that, and so their programs our programs are very strong from when we're growing up, and some people's programs are not that great, and it takes longer to rewire them. But, I've had to rewire quite a few programs. So but like I said, if I were, doing it all over again, this is a tip for parents, a tip for anyone who wants their family to hear good self-talk is to play it over the loudspeakers. And maybe you don't have loudspeakers, but play it where they can hear it. Maybe play it while you're making dinner or someplace where your family, your loved ones will be exposed to it from the time they're very little.
I love that. And obviously, it's had a huge impact the beginning of your path. I think it's important for people to understand what you mean by a program, right?
Okay.
And my interpretation, and I'd love to hear what you say, is there, and especially in a spiritual sense, right? There is kind of generational programming and generational, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it trauma because usually these are not like the most positive things, right? That we're talking about. If it was
Uh-huh.
great, you wouldn't have to rewire it. Let's be clear.
For
Um,
sure.
but that's one piece of it. And the other piece is the learning that we have. So, for example, if you have a parent that feels negative about the way that they look, and you heard a lot of comments, especially like a daughter to a mother, right? The mother's constantly saying, I don't like the way I look, or whatever those, tracks that you hear, you end up burying that into your subconscious And we almost believe that when in fact it wasn't even our story, our path, our energetic footprint, none of it.
Exactly. We pick it up by osmosis, like you said, we're hearing it. That's what a program is. It's anything that you're listening or that you have heard growing up from your friends, your teachers, your coaches, your brothers and sisters. That's a big one. Your family members,
Yeah.
and they don't even mean to do it.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sure
for the
there's some
most
that
part.
mean to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there is a
yeah.
yeah, but it's it's just a thing that like when my daughter was growing up, I look back now and I think, I used to talk a lot about how I was overweight. And it was all about me talking about me, not her, because she was never,
Right.
even if she was overweight, it wasn't about her. It was just
Right.
about me degrading myself about that, beating
Right.
myself up about that. And she heard it. And
Yeah.
I've never sat down and talked with her and asked her how that's affected her. But I, I I'm discovering a lot of things about what I did as they were growing up that I wish I could change, but, you can't go back, but they can take on self-talk now. It's never too late to start.
Absolutely. And I think, we're not, let's also have an asterisk here. Like, we're not calling anybody out. We've all said things and done things, right? Like, this is a safe space and this is a place where people can come and really be who they are and really like start to think about what their stuff is. My grandmother, I don't always speak about my family members that are alive because I don't ask all permission, right? But my grandmother's since passed, and her and I had a very, very complicated relationship. And she had major, major issues with her weight and her appearance. We'll call it just appearance in general. And as a little girl, I remember hearing things like size 6 is what you should be. You should always do this. You shouldn't eat that. You shouldn't do this. And then my grandmother got older and she became heavier, and then she got sick and got really, really thin and frail and like sickly looking. At that point, when it shifted for her, she felt it necessary to come after me for the way that I looked because she had never resolved what had happened to her. So I would say until very recently, I was really screwed up about the way I looked because of that experience. And my mother was like, "You're beautiful. You're gorgeous. You can do anything. You look great." So it didn't even matter what my mom was doing because she was aware and she was doing everything she could, including speaking to her about it, which didn't work because we do what we can, right? That was my. So, when you think about your daughter, yes, through osmosis, but then there's also things that you're told that have nothing to do with you, but you're a little kid or you're a teenager. I remember being like, when it got really bad, I was like 16 through 20. Those are really tough years,
They are.
very impressionable.
Yes.
And I think it's important for people to maybe start thinking about what are the tracks that you have in your head, no matter what it is. We're just talking about one specific example that maybe aren't yours or were never yours.
Mhm. But you just heard them, and so they're still there in the background. That's a great question. It's something for people to think about. What are yours?
Yeah,
And I always, think it's a good idea to write it down.
totally.
Write these things down, and then we can take a list of things, even if it's just a couple of things, and you reword it
Yep.
in writing.
Yep.
I think we've worked on that exercise, haven't we,
Oh,
Alyson?
when I first met you, we did a lot of deep dives on this
Mhm.
because when it came to who I was as a person and my career and some of these big leaps that you helped me get through, I still to this day, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm healed. I'm sitting here saying that I'm fine. I'm not. That's another thing. This is a lifelong journey. You're not
Exactly.
gonna do this exercise and just expect like a year from now that everything's gonna be fine. Because as you peel back the layers of who you are and why you are the way you are, it gets deeper.
Yes. It sure does. And it like you said, it's a lifelong journey. No matter how good you get at rewiring your self-talk or changing it, there's always more to open up and
Yeah.
find out about yourself and change.
Right. And for healing and
Yes.
for peace.
Mhm.
right?
You know what's interesting? Just this weekend, I was at an event and I hired a videographer to come and, record the event and do some recording of me so I could use it for content. And I've never done this before. And
Okay. That's exciting.
I thank you. I realized, oh my goodness. So I'm so grateful, first of all, that I got a great recommendation, actually from Neil Dingra, gave me a great recommendation. The guy is top notch. So I started at the top with a top notch videographer. And I've learned a couple things this weekend, and it's related to self talk. Number one, hire at the top. Don't hire people that you can afford, so to speak, because they're cheaper. Because this guy was amazing. He coached me, he helped me come up with ideas. He was patient while I was waiting. And the reason I'm bringing this up, Alyson, is because I realized that a lot of my self-talk around uh, being on the spot, I didn't want to be in the spotlight. Like people were walking, there was tons of people walking around, and the videographer was there, and we were recording, and I was so uncomfortable at the beginning with people looking at us, and I kept trying to figure out, why can't I get my words together and do what I need to be doing here? I know what I'm talking about. Why can't I do it? And I talked about it with him. It's my self-talk. There's obstacles there that are holding me back. Like, it's okay to be in the spotlight, but I just felt uncomfortable with people staring at us and wondering what we
Right.
were doing. And I learned a lot about myself this weekend, about what holds me back and what I need to change about
Right.
my self-talk.
And thank you so much for sharing that because there is such a vulnerability in this work and in you. It's not easy to talk about something that happened this weekend because you're like, I've been doing this forever, and it goes back to what we were just saying. But I think in that, right, you stepped into discomfort. Let's
Exactly.
start there. So I think it's really important for people to understand, if you're someone that wants to grow, if you're someone that wants to find out more pieces about yourself or push towards your purpose or whatever it is that you're trying to do, if that's what you want, every level of discomfort is going to bring more of the track.
So true. So true.
I'm in it now again.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna happen throughout our whole lives. We're never
Yeah.
always gonna be comfortable, or we're never gonna be growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah, so, that's exactly right. I stepped into discomfort, and I haven't been that uncomfortable in a very long time.
Right.
So it helped me know a couple of things, that I need to get more uncomfortable more often, get out of my little shell
I'm
here in
right
my
there too.
home.
Yeah.
And And I realized that, I just learned a lot of things this weekend, and I just got home at 1 o'clock this
I
morning.
know. When you emailed me yesterday, you're like, I'm in the Vegas airport. I'm like, oh my God, she's still there. I can't wait to see
Yeah.
all your content, by the way. I'm so excited.
Uh.
The way you've put yourself out there at your stage of your career is, and we'll link all of your stuff below and so that people can follow you. Irene has just the best pages and the best content, but I'm proud of you. It's
Thank
not
you.
easy to show up to that type of conference. It's a mortgage conference. It's a really big conference, like big names, and it's not easy to show up there with a videographer.
Yes. And then the thing is that, it's about not beating yourself up too, because I noticed that I started beating myself up and getting kind of upset with myself that I couldn't articulate. We would talk about a concept, and then as soon as he turned the video on and people were walking by, I couldn't say
You're
the
like,
things that I wanted to say. Yeah.
I just had it.
Exactly. So he got me calm, and, he was talking to me like a coach talks,
Right.
but in a very kind manner. And he said, "It's okay." He says, "Just look at the camera and you're talking to one person."
Right.
And, just things like that that really helped, and I'm really grateful that it was him.
Mindset.
Yes. Yes.
Mindset.
But my eyes, I opened up my eyes this weekend and went, "Oh my gosh, those are some things I need to work on."
Yeah. And I'm so glad. I'm going to share a story too. And I've had an interesting week. I posted some things on Instagram, which was big for me to get out of my shell and to, be on social. It's been very challenging for me, guys. Like the people that listen to this podcast, it's very, very hard, but I'm getting better because I'm doing it and I'm in it and I'm practicing and I keep putting myself out there and it gets easier. But I am a recovering codependent. I have a long line in my family of codependent people, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. And it's something that I would just live my life for other people. If I was focused on everybody else, I didn't have to focus on myself. So I was able to just dissociate, which is not healthy.
No.
And what I realized is that I had one of those days where I just started questioning why I was doing anything that I was doing. Like, why am I in this business? Why am I making this phone call? I had one of those days where my head was just down in the drain. It was
Mhm.
not helping. There was nothing positive coming out. But what happened that evening, I had a little bit of a breakdown and I realized that I need to let go even more and allow people to be there for me more.
Mhm.
So that track that was playing led me to this big aha moment, just like you're saying. Why do I have a problem with putting myself in the spotlight? I have so much education. I'm a name in this business. People know me. I have so much to share. And yet the camera starts and you're like, ugh.
Yes.
And you're on camera all the time. You have your own podcast, which we'll link below. So, guys, it doesn't matter, right? Again, it's the psychology because she's in these rooms with these other people and it's public and it's not easy. But it was the same thing with me. I'm like, God, I thought I had come so far. And then I was like, I have, but there's even more. And then the next day I was able to kind of get out of that. I was like, wow, that whole drain allowed something to bubble up in me that I kind of wasn't aware of. And my intention now is to let people help me. Really let people help me. Not just say I'm going to let people help me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you shared it, and I love that you got that aha moment. I love that you describe it as bubbling up in you because that's exactly what it is. It feels that way, doesn't it?
It's in there. It's
Yes.
better if it's out because
Uh-huh.
dis-ease is when we're not in ease. The word,
Yes.
right? And I'm not saying we should always look for ease, but if I felt very, dysregulated and I was really upset. And a lot of times, if we don't, how can I say this? If we don't jump into the mindset and begin to believe everything it's saying, there are lessons in the negative talk, the talk, right? So it's like, why do I feel this way? What is triggering me to feel this way? What events happened that I can
Mhm.
kind of pick up, so to speak, and figure out what I need to do next.
Yes. Yeah. It's interesting how the brain works, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What I love about the brain is that it has something called neuroplasticity, and
Ooh,
it's
yes.
constantly rewiring, and it will pay attention. It doesn't care if it's right or wrong or good or bad. It will pay attention to what we feed it the most. The programs that we're using the most is what the brain is going to listen to because it's repetition. And
Thank you. I wanted
that's why when we do affirmations that are positive, that's why we need to know what we're saying that's not helping us
right.
and rewiring it, rewording it on paper
Yep.
to what is helping us, and then saying those every day, affirming those,
Right.
reading them out loud, saying them to ourselves, or reading them if it whatever makes them you
Yes,
comfortable.
stick it on a mirror. I think, and these conversations always go exactly where they're supposed to go. I- If you are in, everyone has this problem. No one out there is immune.
Right.
I don't care who you are. We're human, right?
Right.
If begin to not just listen to the track, but do something with it, whether it's a voice note. I'm a big voice note person. You
Me
like
too.
to write things down, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of different ways that you could get it out of your head and really take a look at it and say, wow, that's negative or that's not true. Is this true? Is it even true? Based on what? My therapist loves that term. Based on what?
Yes, that's a great question.
Yeah. What do you have? So being able to actually look at it. And then to Irene's point, it's all repetition. So if you keep having these tracks in your head, why not have the positive tracks?
Yes.
Because that will replace the negative ones.
Yes. And so the brain will listen to what it hears the most. And like I said, it doesn't know the difference between right or wrong. It's like a computer. It's just going to keep giving you the results of what is. So how you think matters. And that's why it's so important to input the right, you can call them affirmations, you can call it self-talk, positive self-talk, whatever you want to call it. I like to call them affirmations. I like to call it successful self-talk. That's what I like to call it.
I love that.
You be successful in whatever you choose to do.
Right. Whatever that means to you.
Yes, whatever that means to you. And so if you on purpose read affirmations or say things to yourself that are going to help you, then the good things are going to happen in your life.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten up in the morning and you say, oh, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed and then something happens and you didn't get what you
You
wanted?
burn your hand on the toaster,
That's
then you
right.
drop your phone and it cracks. Then you
Yep.
don't make like you get stuck in traffic or whatever. I mean, it's true. Listen, for the listeners out there, this is real. And I know that people are like, oh, self-talk or oh, manifestation or oh, call it whatever you want. If you sit in a negative mindset and that's all you hear, that will be your experience. The universe as we experience it from a spiritual perspective is the you inverse. That's what universe means. So whatever it is that you are focused on is what
Yes.
you're going to get back. So people call it karma. Again, the words don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is that you have the power to replace your thoughts. And it will
Absolutely.
bring about different changes in circumstances in your life.
Yes. Your thoughts create your emotions. What you think about makes you feel a certain way. Your emotions create what you do, your actions. So, however you're feeling is going to make you act a certain way, and your actions are going to create your results. So, you're going to get the results of how you think. And that's the key of why we have to replace the thoughts that are not helping us and be intentional every day about listening to them every single day, repeating over and over the good thing. And so what I've done with this weight loss journey that I've been on, this health journey, not just weight loss, it's a health journey. Because at my age now, I'm more concerned about the health than I am about the weight.
Right. It's
All
funny how
my
that
life.
starts shift. Same thing with me. I was like, oh, I have to be this size. I have to be this size. I'm like, no, I need to go to my doctor and have like an excellent panel. That's my
Yes,
goal now. Like,
exactly.
do they check, and say you're good? Right. And
Mhm.
you have been on such an amazing journey and you've shared a lot about it. I give you so much credit. It's not
Thank you.
easy.
No, it hasn't been easy, but it's worth it, and, I've incorporated a lot of self-talk with that.
Yeah.
When I catch myself, if I walk down like this weekend, there was all kinds of dessert there, at different places where I went,
Oh,
and I did have
conferences are the
some.
worst.
Yeah, they're hard
Drinking and
to.
desserts. It's like, yeah.
But I did have some. I'm not gonna say I didn't have any sweets at all. I did,
Right.
but in moderation, and I also made sure that if I had some in the morning or, like, in the afternoon, then I wouldn't have it at dinner or that type of
Right.
thing. But, and I almost just this is how our brain works. I almost talked myself into it was okay to have more than normal because I went all day without eating one day. But then I thought, "No, that's a weight loss thing. That has nothing to do with health."
I love what you just said. If we can pause and highlight. So, you have a mindset, you have something that hits your mind, it impacts your emotions, right? And then ultimately, you're going to need to take action or maybe do nothing, right? Which can be an action in itself. I'm not going to do that for once, right? If I keep doing something, and then a result will come. And then if it's like a loop, right? And so if you don't start at the beginning, you're never going to get through the rest. And that result will impact how you feel,
It will. If you don't change it, if you keep it the same way, that's the result you're gonna get.
right? The definition of insanity is doing things same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good way for people to think about this. Outside of that, you don't have to do this alone. There's a lot of, therapy is great for this if that's something that you're into. energy work, mindset work. There's a lot of, spiritual groups where people can share, how they've been able to, I call it like cracking the code, right? Being able to
Yes.
like just pause and reflect and, breath work and meditation has been very, very, very helpful for me because even if I'm on a call with someone for like a work call and I start to spiral, I can breathe in that moment and become regulated and be like, "Okay, that's a train. That's my runaway train." That's what I call it. It's left the station, and I'm not getting on it. Just gonna let it go. And that's what meditation will teach us is to be able the thoughts will not stop, but we can watch them come and go, and we don't have to be tethered
Mm.
to them.
Yes. I love that metaphor of the train leaving the station and you're not getting on it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, our time is almost up, which happens so quickly.
Does.
And I have one last question for you. So, in the last few years, we've all gone through really tough stuff, right? No one has had it easy. How has mindset or shifting up to a positive mindset, whatever, however you want to put it, changed for you in the last few years?
How has it changed or how have I utilized it?
How
Is that
how has yeah, I mean, it could be either, right? How
Mhm.
because obviously you've been on this path for a long time. Things are tougher than they've been for a lot
Yes.
of people. So in those tough moments, how do you think mindset is even more important, I guess is
Oh,
what I'm
boy.
asking.
It's been what it's done what I've noticed about mindset shifts in this last couple years has been and because 'cause I've been through some really tough things in the last couple years,
You have.
and you're aware of some of them, but I believe you have to feel the feelings and then get through the feelings. You
Yeah.
can't bury them. You've gotta feel them. You've gotta get them out, and then you can change your self-talk, because if you don't do that, you're shoving them down, and that's not good. So, you were the person that I was able to talk to a lot, and you know what I've been through, and, I'm not gonna put it all public here, but, um, what I found in self-talk and mindset is that it not only was it never more important, but I was able to see that all those years of utilizing it for here and there, utilizing it, it became more important now, and I was so glad that I had all of those good experiences in the past that have helped me get through hard times, that
Mm.
I was able to rely on those and go, "You know what? We've been through hard times before, and we can do it again. I can get through this. I can do this." That's my favorite affirmation. I can do this. When I think I can't
I'm
do something,
capable. I've been
I
through harder before and I'm gonna come out the other side. All these
exactly.
things.
Yes. I've done it before and I can do it again, and this time I know more.
Yeah, when you know better, you do better is something that I always say to myself because and
Oh.
it's not a thing to be like, "Oh, you need to do better." It's that I will do better because I have a different perspective.
Yes. Yeah. And so I like to look back on positive times, something that I got through. I think it strengthens you. When you go through hard times and you come out the other side, it strengthens you and it gives you something to go back to and remember, I've done this before. I can do this. That was really hard, but I did that thing. And now I can take the same things that I did to get through that and I can be fortified more because I know I've gotten through things before. And so I use self-talk and change it according to whatever it was that is holding me back, and I change it to something better, more successful. And over time, repetition, it will work. Like you said, it's not overnight.
No, it takes time, and this is gonna feel weird for a while for people
It
that
does.
haven't done it, and for people that are doing it, keep going.
Exactly. It's a never-ending thing because there's programs that we're not even aware of. As soon as you start getting some rid of the bigger programs or some of the things that you're really working on,
Right.
and then you add one other thing, then it gets better and better, and it's just a really
Yeah,
good.
and the other thing that we haven't mentioned, and we're gonna drop off in a second, but there's all these external forces that will trigger your self-talk and everything that's in your head. The news is really good at that. Politics is really good at that. Even if you have, which I don't think it's true, but even if you've reprogrammed everything that you heard as a kid, things are going to happen. It's going to reignite. So
Yes.
keep going.
Yes.
You
That's the
can
message
do this.
today.
You can change your life. It starts here. It starts here.
I agree.
Heart and head.
100%.
We're
Yes.
testaments to it. So, Irene, I want to thank you so much for being on. We're going to link all of your things below, how you can connect with Irene on Instagram socials, how you can connect with her business for any of our mortgage folks on the podcast, Loan Team Training. And I want to thank all the listeners for joining us today in the space between. We are so happy that you decided to spend some time with us, and we'll see you very soon again. Thank you so much for joining us in the space between. We hope this conversation sparked connection for you. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who will find value. And make sure to tune into our next episode as we continue the journey into the core themes of our lives. We'll see you again in the space between.